Hello. Nice to see everybody. I am back. 10 p.m. with Galinsky is back. Oh, here we go. Quick shout outs to our chat. Lee Hybridge Kremen, Tammy T, good to see you. Every so often you're going to see me looking toward my left here. And you're going to see me mentioning people in the chat. You can see me, I hope. I'm having some a mixture of technical snafu, but tell me if you can see the video of me as well. And if you do, then I'm going to bring my, hi Amy, I'm going to bring my guest in. Hey Michael. Becky Savelle, yay. So somebody let me know if you can see my face because my monitor is not showing it. And if it isn't, that's okay. You can see, you can hear me. Email says yes. Anybody else say yes? And then I'm going to start this sucker. There you go, Michael. You can see me. Hello and welcome to 10 p.m. with Galinsky. I'm excited to have a wonderful guest on tonight. Not only is he a good friend, but he, as Jeffrey Katzenberg has called him, the pitchman of Hollywood. My guest tonight had started in the music business as a kid at the age of 18, and he's written 5 Hollywood scripts sold to Michael Eisner at Disney, Jeffrey Katzenberg at DreamWorks, Harvey Weinstein at Miramax, Len White of Orion Pictures, and Hugh Jackman became his partner as well in one of his projects. Freddie DeMann also was a partner of his, Freddie DeMann of Michael Jackson and Madonna fame. On top of that, my guest had a Broadway musical called Brooklyn the Musical, which is now a cult hit playing all over the world. And recently he's changed his tune and he's a star finder. He's a star maker. So I proudly bring to you my good friend and the guy who's helped put me on another stratosphere. Please welcome Mark Schoenfeld. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Galinsky, how are you?
Good to see you, man.
Galinsky, it's hard for me to recognize you this way without the hair.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm not used to it. You look like, like a character actor now, not just like the mayor of the Lower East Side.
Thank you. I am.
Yeah, you could play a good cop, a bad cop. You could play a nice guy, a teacher. Before you could only play this one character, exactly what you are, the mayor of the Lower East Side. You remember I gave you that name.
I know, and I love it.
Because when you took me through your neighborhood, everyone knew you. And I said, why do they all know you? And I don't know you. So why do they all know you? And you said, well, look, I speak to everyone. You're the mayor.
This is not a show about me, Mark. This is
all right. But it's hard for me to look at you this way.
It's all right.
I look at you as a renegade of a guy that wished he lived in the 60s.
And I am a guy that now has that spirit, but the exterior has me hopefully playing chiropractors, lawyers, good cops and bad cops.
You got it. That's what you are.
Right on.
But let me say one thing really quick about you.
Go ahead.
You are on the cusp, the precipice of something so different and new. And I'm sad that I can't reveal it because I did discover you. And so it's so great, but you don't want me to reveal it. So I won't reveal it.
Thank you. Nope. We're going to surprise the world soon. Yeah.
That's terrific.
A couple people in the chat room before I go to my first question to you, Marnie. Marnie Pricand is with us.
I love her.
Tammy
and I worked. Her father was the former president of Epic Records. Made Michael Jackson come to Epic, which is Thriller, Bad, all of that. And I worked for Ron Luxembourg, and Ron Luxembourg gave me $2 million for Brooklyn the Musical. How about that?
Right.
Find a guy that will do that.
You found him, and that's part of the magic, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
Benjamin Quinto's with us. Hey, Ben, Tammy T, Scott Irwin, Lee Hybridge Kremen is with us, Carrie Bouye, Amy Alt, Becky Savelle, some old school fans of the 10 p.m. show, Michael Swiskay. Good to be back, everybody. Great to see you all. For those of you just joining for the first time on the show, there are 39 episodes in the archive on YouTube. I will post that link later. another legend. And then I want to also let you know, if I keep looking to the left, it's because I'm going to the chat, because we're going to get your questions from Mark once we get him warmed up. Josh Pugh is with us. Zulima, good to see you. Oku Onora, Oku, the original dub poet from Jamaica, is with us. Great to see you, Oku. If you don't know Oku Onora, look up that name. Faya. Heather Prescott is with us, and Kayla Escueda. So, all right, I want to ask you this. When I first met you, Mark, about 15 years ago, you talked about meeting 5 new people every day, that you have this philosophy, this rule. You taught it to me. Give me an example of how you meet somebody in one of those 5 people every day, and what happens.
That wasn't just youthful exuberance. That I do that right now. I do the same exact thing. So even though I've had success, I act like I don't, because I want to meet 5 new people. Because anyone that you meet, they will have a network in and of themselves, and you'll meet someone that can be very helpful to you. So you want an example of someone that I met recently?
You met somebody. How did you do it? Because it sounds. There's I don't know.
There's so many, but I'm gonna pick a person that because I introduced him to you also.
Right.
Okay. So I'm living in Beverly Hills, and I'm with my partner Scott Price, and his wife is Marnie, who was right on here. And every day we go to Nate Now's, which is a Jewish deli. I think it's on the street is North Beverly Drive. And in that deli for breakfast every day is moguls. Now you might see stars like Bruce Willis and Clint Eastwood or whatever. You're going to see them there. But you're going to meet people that are not stars, and they're producers, and you just don't know their faces, or directors, executives, lawyers. And every day I go in there, and I go with Scott. And Scott is a partner of mine, and Scott has a gift of instant likability. So he knows a lot of people there, but I don't, because I moved to Beverly Hills. So now I'm going there every single day, Monday through Friday. We go in, and I start tipping all the waitresses a lot of money before I even sit down. So let's say I tip them $20, whoever is my waitress, before sitting down. Then I tip them again when the check comes. And I tip Angela, the hostess. And then I say to them, you tell me who's here that I need to know. And I'll go over to them. I'm not scared. Or you can introduce me to them. So they become my team. And every day I walk in, I pass this one guy who has this table facing the door. And every person that comes in the door, I notice this guy knows them. So he knows everyone. There's no tourists at Nate Now's, but anyone can go in. But the tourists don't go in because it's not really a nice place. It has great food, but it doesn't look nice. So, but it's all moguls. Everyone's in the business. So every day I go in, and Scott says hello to this guy at the table facing the door, and I give him a fist bump. But that's all I know of him. Give the guy a fist bump. And I'm watching him all the time. And I notice that he gets there at 8 o'clock, and from 8 to 8:30, there's no one with him. From 8:30, someone comes in, sits on the opposite side of his table, and they have a conversation and they eat breakfast. I assume that's a client, and he's some sort of agent or manager. I noticed one of his clients was a guy that wrote the Equalizer movies. That's billions of dollars in gross sales. So this guy, and again, he knows every single person that comes in. So he knows all these moguls and all of that. So I say, well, all I know of him is to give him a fist bump. So I tell Scott Price what I'm going to do. And I show up one day at 7:30 in the morning, and I sit at his table, and waitress comes over, Mark, that's Richard's table.
Not there yet.
He's not there yet. And then the waitress comes over, Mark, that's Richard's table. And I said, yeah, I'll get up when he comes in. He comes in, he has to walk around, and then he sees someone sitting at his table. And he goes like this to me, if you could see my hands, like, like, who are you, what are you doing? Yeah. And I said, you look like you have such a kind face. And because you have a kind face, I need to ask you a favor. And I just got this feeling you will do me this favor if you can. And he's sort of shocked. And he tells me with his hands to rise, to get out of his seat. And just with his hands, circles around, sit on the other side of it. So now he's facing the door, I'm facing him, and he goes, I repeat it, you have a kind face, and so I need a favor, because I think you'll do it for me. He says, well, I'm happy I have a kind face, and I have done favors for people. What's your favor? Now remember, I don't know him. I don't know him. I don't even know his name, you know? And so he says, what's the favor? I say, I represent a model from Mississippi, white girl. She's 6 feet tall. She's 14 years old. She's a gymnast. She excels in all sports. She's a genius in technology. Her name is Evans from Mississippi. And I need you to get me to the owners of Guess Jeans. I already had a meeting at Nate and Al's with Kendall Jenner. And Kendall Jenner saw all these pictures and videos and said she's a supermodel. And that allowed me to get to Next Models to meet a guy named Chris Mano who said the same exact thing. But they want her to be a model on the road, you know, where you're traveling, you're hanging with other models, you're doing runway. I want her to be the face of Guess Jeans, or the face and body of Guess Jeans, or Nike. And can you help me? Do you know the people at Guess Jeans, the owners? He says, yes, I do. I do. They're the Paul Marciano and his brothers, the Marciano brothers. They're Moroccan Jews. I said, nice guys? He says, they're sharks. I said, I love swimming with the sharks. Can you get me to them? He said, you know, I remember that girl. I remember you parading her around Nate and Al's at another time. And I remember everyone rubbernecking to look at her. She's astonishing. I said, here's the pictures. And I said, here's videos. He says, I'm going to have a meeting at 8 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, I will go find you if you're still here. And we will go to my office. And I will call up Paul Marciano, the owner of Guess Jeans. Now remember, I just met this guy. He knows nothing about me.
You gave us his first name. What's his whole name? Can you tell us now?
Yeah, Richard Arlick. Okay. And you know him, Galinsky, because I had you go in for him.
You had me sit down in that booth. It was incredible.
Yes.
Meet 5 new people a day and be 6 degrees away.
And this is no degrees away, right? So we go to his office and he calls up Paul Marciano. He's not there. He gets his executive secretary. He tells the executive right in front of me, I just met this guy and he's incredible. And he discovered this model and I want him to send 12 pictures, but he has 100 and he wants to send 100. How do you want these? I want to send them over for Paul. She says, I send over the 100. So he thought it was going to be, send over the 100. So he packs it up in his own, you know, baggage, you know, with that says his name, Richard Arlick and all of that. He packs it up and messengers it over to them. That's the next day, because I write a really terrific letter about to Paul Marciano. For a long time, I don't hear from them. Richard is ready to call them again. Ready. If I bring Evans from Mississippi in, he'll walk her in with me. Right? That's what he's ready to do for a guy he just met for minutes. And eventually, I hear from Paul Marciano. He responds to my letter and he says he wants to meet her, but for them to consider her, she has to be 18. She's 14. So it's just not a fit right now. Now, today, literally today, she just turned 17. So 1 year from today, if this COVID is gone, I will bring her in to Paul Marciano and she will be the face and body of Guess Jeans.
Incredible.
And it all happened because of Richard Arlick. Now, let me tell you one other thing about him. Through him, he has introduced me to so many people walking into Nate and Al's, and he brags on me. He has what Scott Priceand has. He has instant likability. That's a gift that he has. And he has become, Galinsky, he has become my friend, a personal friend, you know, a friend where our hearts are working together. I text him or speak to him countless times in a week. I have brought him different projects and they're all A-list. When I brought him Jasmine Hunter, who is a pop dance star, when I brought him Jasmine Hunter, he wanted to immediately call up Monty Littman, Monty Littman and his brother Avery Littman, who own Republic Records. Everything I bring him. So that's a guy. So that's a guy showing you that's 1 out of 5 people that I met that day. But through him, I had to meet 50 people.
All right. So I got to do a couple quick shout outs and ask you this question. Think of the answer while I'm shouting them out. The question is, does everybody have what you have to go meet somebody new every day, 5 new people? Is it magic that only you have, or is it just a matter of going in and asking, hey, here, introducing yourself? Gabriella is with us. Turco Ono is with us. Turco's a regular fan and a brilliant audience member. Patricia Raspberry is with us. Met her in Brazil. She's incredible. Wally Green, James DeMock, a new actor on the rise with VIP. Brianna Anderson, Melinda's here. Megan Boswell's here. Christopher Tanner's here. Christopher Tanner, artist. Rosita Rosa is with us. And also Wally Green is with us. And by the way, Wally Green was on the show, episode 34. And I'll put in the chat the YouTube link, and you can check out Wally's episode. He's a professional ping pong player. So let's go back to it, Mark. Is it special magic sauce that you have, or can anybody just walk up to anybody to meet 5 new people a day?
Anybody can do it. And if they're nervous to do it, what you do is you say, I'm playing a character. I'm a person in a movie playing that part. So you sort of magically put on that uniform. That right now, that uniform is Mark Schoenfeld. You put on that uniform and you go do it. What's the worst that can happen? Hey, I'm busy. I'm eating breakfast. What? But look what happened. Literally, I could get, Richard could take my projects to so many places. Like I have Jasmine Hunter, with Bradley Bredowicz now, but he could have brought her other places because he thought it was A level, willing to call up Monty Littman, right? He saw my pitch on Music Boy. He flipped over that. He's flipped over Evans, right? So the key is to do that when you are really sure of what, if you're a creator, I'm more than a creator now, but if you're a creator, be sure of what you have. Is it an A-level project? Because if you meet someone like Richard and you're bringing him C-level projects, he's not going to waste his time much longer. But if you're consistently bringing him A-level project, and let me say one more thing about him. He is the most decent person that I have met in show business. At one point, my money in my bank, I couldn't get it out because I switched from a bank in the East to a bank in Beverly Hills. And I couldn't get it out. And I'm living in a hotel suite. It's a lot of money. I'm spending so much money on Ubers. I'm blowing money on Jasmine. It's just, and I can't get money out. And I go to him and I ask him, can you give me some money till this happens? $10,000.
Amazing.
Remember, I hardly know the guy. I hardly know him.
That he's gonna be on my show. So those of you watching, Richard will
He
be
told
on
me.
this Tuesday night. Richard's going to be on the show, so you can all meet Richard as well. Couple shout outs in the chat. Tammy T is saying awesome to your story. Amy Alt says this reminds me of the tipping point. Zulima says, I think no matter where we're at, even if we're working in the grocery store, it's an awesome thing to start practicing. Meet 5 new people a day for when we're in more influential circles. And I think it points to what you were saying about what are you going to the person with. So speaking of 5 new people, I know that you were, how did you become partners with the head of Revlon, Steve Costa?
Oh. So
by the way, audience, this is a unique show because I know Mark. You see how quiet I am? I'm letting him talk. He's got to spill the wisdom. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, you know me for like 14, 15 years now, right?
Yeah.
So I wrote a song called Natalie about Natalie Wood. and it's about how she lived her life and the death. It was a beautiful song. So think of Elton John's Candle in the Wind about Marilyn Monroe. And the singer that sings the song, she eventually wrote Brooklyn the Musical with me. But we started off with this song, Natalie, and she sings it. And I then have a lot of connections in the record business. So I am going to record companies in New York with her and pitching this song and her as an artist to be signed to a record company, singing like ballads, like Whitney Houston, like that kind of stuff. And we didn't get far one day, and we have to take a bus back to where my mother and father live in Co-op City in the Bronx. So, you know, I was born in Brooklyn, but raised in the Bronx. So the Bronx I'm completely familiar with. So we're waiting for the Co-op City bus, which is the biggest projects, I think, in the United States, housing projects. We're waiting there for the bus to get back there. And I noticed that people coming in limos and getting out with like fancy suits and going into the building. So I look at the building, it's the Revlon building, meaning they have more floors than anybody else. So their name is on the building. And I said, oh, I got an idea. Let's go meet the CEO of Revlon and pitch this idea that I'm going to do right now. I'm going to pitch an idea that this should be a perfume called Natalie, based on Natalie Wood. And so I go over to the security guy, you know, you there?
Yep, we're still there.
Okay, so I go over to the security guy that, you know, lets people up in the elevator. And I said, yeah, I'm here to see the CEO of Revlon. And he says, what's your name? Mark Schoenfeld. So you're here to see Jerry Levin? No, that's not him, I say, no. He says, well, he's the CEO. No, he's not, because I spoke to the CEO and he didn't have that name. And he says, what? I said, give me another name. He gives me another name. I say, nope, that ain't him. You're not giving me the CEO. And he says, Steve Costa? I said, that's it. He says, he's not the CEO. He's the vice president of marketing. He's the CMO, the chief marketing officer, and he's the vice president of new ideas at Revlon. That's the guy. That's the guy. He had an appointment with me. Now, of course, I have no appointment. I'm bamboozling this guard to let me in. So the guard calls Steve Costa, gets his secretary, and they say, send him up. And I never had an appointment. I go up with my partner. Her name is Barry, the girl that sang the song, Barri, Barry McPherson. I go up, go to the lobby. In the lobby, there's a receptionist. And she said, so you're here to see Steve Costa? Yep. You have an appointment? Yep. We don't show any appointment. He would remember me. Trust me, ask him. He remembers me because he said that's a great idea when I told him over the phone. And she calls him up and he says, send him in.
So you never did talk to him? You never?
Never. So now I'm in his office. Now we have a boombox. This was the era of CDs. We have a boombox to play the song Natalie. So I go in and he's sitting down, gets up, shakes my hand and shakes Barry's hand. And I don't let him talk. I said, before you even say a word, let me just play you a song that she's the singer on the CD. I have a lyric sheet for you, and I'm the writer. Let me just play it for you. He says, yeah, okay. He plays it, and I see him swaying to it and all of that. I said, I won this meeting. And of course, Barry, she's pissing in her pants. She has no idea what I'm going to say, and I have very little to say too. The song is done. He says, I got to tell you, I love it. That's just as great as the Elton John song about Marilyn Monroe and all that. I said, well, you know, I already had a meeting with Robert Wagner, and Robert Wagner went crazy over the song. Now, really what happened is Robert Wagner was sweating bullets when I played him this song, because he was actually probably scared it's going to get out there, and he has something to do, whether an accident or not, with her demise. So I wanted to put light on Natalie Wood, but it might be putting heat on Robert Wagner. So, but I didn't tell that to Steve Costa. I just said, Robert Wagner loves the song, you know? And so he said, well, I love it. Well, what does that have to do with me? I said, we create a perfume called Natalie, a fragrance called Natalie. And we sell that fragrance by the song to all the women who grew up with Natalie Wood. They're all a certain age now. That age uses fragrance. Now, I didn't know anything at that age used fragrance. All I knew is that girls younger than me didn't put fragrance on anymore. So I'm just going off. He literally says this, I think that idea is unbelievable. It's fantastic. Have you ever heard of QVC? I said, no. He says, it's brand new. I said, no. You go on television, you sell a product. I love this idea. I want to put you on QVC and you sell this. I said, me? Yeah. On television? Yeah. I'm doing it. I'm there. He says, we'll get a piece of the music and you get a piece of the juice. That's what he called the fragrance. So he said, then he tries to call up the CEO, who I said I had an appointment with. So he's calling up this guy, Jerry Levin. He says, just hang out here. He had us hanging out for about an hour and he keeps trying Jerry Levin. So he's getting to know us, especially me, but he keeps calling, no, Jerry's still in the business. And finally, Jerry Levin is not showing up and it's getting time where he has to leave. So he says, can I have a handshake that you won't go across the street and show this idea to Calvin Klein? I said, you got my handshake. We get in the elevator. Barry is like all over me, jumping up and down. And she says, where are we going now? To Co-op City? I said, no, we're going to Calvin Klein. But I didn't really do it because there was something I liked so much about this guy, Steve Costa, the CMO of Revlon and the vice president of New Ideas. So he says he's going to call me. I don't get a call. I call him up. I said, what happened? I thought you were calling me. I thought we had a deal. He says, Mark, it was poo-pooed by the people who work underneath me. I said, what? He says, well, did you ever work in corporate life before? I said, no. He said, in corporate life, you don't only worry about the people on top of you with the politics of corporations. The people below you can sabotage you. And they don't like that this was not created here by them. So they think that Natalie Wood is not Elvis Presley and no one's going to really give a shit about her. So there won't be great publicity about it. I said, are you kidding me? I said, I said, if I can prove that she will gather publicity, will you have the balls to do and fight all those people to make this happen? Because I was celebrating. He said, oh, please do. Please do. I go into Manhattan from the Bronx and I find this publication, Adweek. I go tell them the story about me and Revlon and Natalie Wood. I tell them the whole story. They said, you don't need us. You need our sister publication, Brand Week. And Brand Week, they tell me, will go to every owner of every brand. So whoever owns Nike, it goes to him. Whoever owns Revlon, it goes to him, as well as the brand managers and the presidents. It's more important than Adweek. And they said, we love this story. We're going to interview you and do it. They do the story. The story, the title of the story in Brand Week is Revlon Knocks on Wood, Natalie Wood. Revlon knocks on wood for dead celeb fragrance.
Oh.
And it's picked up by CNN, Headline News, Chuck Roberts, and they're speaking about me every hour on the hour for 24 hours. Every hour. My mother, I'm back home, my mother calls me Matzala. That's a Jewish nickname for like matzah boy, like my bread. Matzala, what did you do? You're all over television. All my neighbors, everyone's calling me. Your son's on television. So Steve Costa, this is the era of answering machines.
Yeah.
He's on my answering machine. Mark, what have you done? Ron Perlman, the owner of Revlon, is coming in to see me with Jerry Levin. I don't even know who you are. Who do I say you are? I call him up. I say, just tell him I'm a genius. That's all you got to tell him. Tell him I'm a genius. The next voicemail I get the next day, Mark, this is Steve Costa. I want you to know I was let go. I was fired. I tell Barry, we got to go to his house. It's in Long Island. It's in, I think, Woodbury, Long Island, or Jericho, Long Island. I said, we got to go to his house. She says, I'm not going. And she says, I said, why? She says, he has an Italian last name. We're going to be buried there.
Right? What are you doing?
So I said, well, I'm going. I call him up.
Bronx, you should know better.
Yeah. I call him up. I said, can I come to your house? I go to his house. He hugs me, not the kiss of death. He hugs me and he says, Mark, you're brilliant. I love this. And I'm so glad I'm not working there anymore. I'm so glad I got a severance pay. Yes, they sabotaged it because the idea didn't come from within Revlon, not created here. But he and I became best friends. And he's my consigliere on everything I do. So I do so much with Scott Priceand as a producer in Broadway and Hollywood, right? But the two people I go to all the time as consiglieres is Steve Costa and Richard Arluck. And look how I met them. What does that tell you? It tells you you have to have the chutzpah to do the things you need to do. And if you're scared to do it, put on that mask, put on that suit, become a character, no different than an actor becoming a character. You've heard of actors that they stay in a character the whole time. Well, why can't you do that? They're not geniuses. Now, I'm not in character. This is who I am, but that's how your question, that's how you answer it. You become a character.
Your audience is responding, so I'm going to read some of these responses.
Okay.
Schoenfeld, you're an inspiration, says Zulima. Tammy Key said, I can honestly say I love your stories. They give me strength to stand strong and never give up. Rosita said, crazy. Turco Ono, again, remember Turco is one of our strongest audience members here. He says, it appears that you need to believe in yourself or at least appear to do so.
That's the answer.
Right? Then with that self-confidence, you can meet 5 new people. It's an upward spiraling situation.
Beautiful.
Right? That's great.
Beautiful, beautifully put.
Yep, Turco Ono.
Upward spiraling. Oh, love it.
Upward spiral.
Love it.
Nancy Lynch Hutchings just joined us. Andrew Bodor is with us. Rick Brown, welcome. Let's see. Turco also adds gumption, chutzpah, gumption.
Yeah.
Zulima says the world's for the go-getters. No guts, no glory. Zulima says it's genius. It's more fun to be a character, says Scott Irwin. Taking risks, says Rosita. I got a smart audience here, Mark.
They really do. Really do. How great is that? They get it. They realize this is how you succeed. So, this is how you do it.
This is how you do it. So, you told me that you worked with Freddie DeMann, and then when you said that at the time, I was like, I don't know who Freddie DeMann is, but
I didn't work with him. I was his partner.
His business partner.
Yeah.
But Freddie DeMann, managed Madonna, Michael Jackson, started Maverick Records, worked with Shakira. He's more famous as a music manager than I think Colonel Parker from the guy who was managing Elvis and Brian Epstein who did the Beatles. So I looked at
he is. That's a great point. He is more renowned and was richer than those guys.
So I had to look him up because I don't see his face everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
I might pull up a picture of him in a few minutes, but tell us about how you ended up working and being a business partner with Freddie DeMann.
So I had a show on Broadway. It was called Brooklyn.
By the way, this is a half-hour show, and we're going overtime. Is that okay with you?
With me?
Are you okay with that? We'll go a little longer.
I'm fine. I'm fine. I had a show on Broadway called Brooklyn the Musical. And prior to reviews, it would get anywhere from 4 to 6 standing ovations in one show. There was no show on Broadway ever that got that. I haven't seen Hamilton, but I assume Hamilton is doing those kind of things. But we were the only one doing it in 4 to 6 weeks of previews. So that is, you always get the obligatory standing ovation at the end. Everyone gets it, no matter how good or bad a show is. But to get it right from the start, and then Eden Espinosa, who was discovered by the team of Brooklyn, would get it in the 3rd song, and then get it throughout the song, and then the obligatory 4 to 6. No one ever got that. So Freddie DeMann. Then the New York Times came in, they killed the show, and in the show it lasted for 10 months, and now it's a cult hit. But Freddie DeMann saw the show, and he called his lawyer, and he said, I want to buy the publishing, meaning I want to buy the music of Brooklyn the Musical. The lawyer called up my lawyer. My lawyer called up me and said, Freddie DeMann's lawyer called. They want to buy the publishing. They want to start with $25,000. Start the bidding at there. He would like to meet you at a place called, a restaurant called Nello's, which I think is on the, I think if I remember, it was on the Upper East Side in the 60s. And it's a place where you go to be seen. So I tell my lawyer, tell him, no, I'm too busy. And I really was busy because I was going to the TKTS lines where you can buy tickets 2 for 1, and I was selling all the people on the line. I would go to all the different theaters and grab the people online to see Fiddler on the Roof and make them go to my show rather than Fiddler on the Roof. And that's how I made it all happen. Well, so I get another call a month later. Freddie Demand wants to see you, my lawyer says. At this point, I say, I'll see him. And I go into Nello's. Now, I have a friend, and you know him very well, Brendan Fitzgerald, okay? Brendan Fitzgerald is a success story because I made him move to Beverly Hills. He's a writer, and you know writers are poor, right? He's a writer, and his wife was a caregiver in New Hampshire, making $20,000 a year. She makes $150,000 a year because they live in Beverly Hills, and she's doing it for the people in Beverly Hills. So that's another success story of mine, right? But anyway, I make Brendan hold my umbrella. Brendan, it's raining, hold my umbrella like I'm a king. And I walk into Nello's with Brendan holding my umbrella like he's a butler, right? And Freddie Demand is sitting right there like Richard Arlick, right seeing who comes in. As I walk in, I notice right next to Freddie Demand is Martin Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Mark Wahlberg. So they were all in a movie together, but no one knew it back then, and they were having a meeting. So Freddie is sitting right there. I walk in. I said, hey, Freddie, Mark Schoenfeld, this is my butler, Brendan Fitzgerald. And he said, would you like Brendan to join us? I said, no, I would not. And so Brendan leaves. We sit down, and this is what I'm going to imitate him. Mark, I like to do business very fast, very swift. So before this meal is over, or when this meal is over, we will know if we're in business together. I start the bidding right now at $25,000 for the music of Brooklyn. What have you got to say? And I go, what the fuck happened with you and Madonna? Because they had a split up. So I didn't even answer his question. Now he's telling me, which I can't tell here because he told me secrets, he's telling me about what happened with the split up of him and Madonna. But they split up, and Madonna had to give him $20 million. So he says, we go through the whole thing, and there's no answer. And he says, I've seen you on the TKTS line, and I've seen you steal other people's ticket buyers to go to your show, and you're fantastic at it. And I just want you to know that I want to be in business with you. So please give me an offer tomorrow. We'll pick you up in a limo. You'll meet my wife and my daughter. So his wife's name is Candy. His daughter's name is Pilar. He says, we'll go to this restaurant in the village. The girls after breakfast will shop a little while. You and I will circle around the village. We'll talk about what we have to talk about. You'll come with us to the airport. Then my driver will drive you back to wherever you need him to drive you back. What's the figure? So remember, 25 grand. So I said $111,000.37. He said, that is a strange number, Mark, and I don't know how you would ever get it. I said, it's all figured out. I said, if you give me $111,000.37, you have to remember I have a partner, I have a lawyer, I have to pay tax. I'm really going to only end up with the $25,000 that you offered me in the first place. And the loose change, you know, I just need loose change in my pocket. I don't want to handle a lot of money. So he got all that shtick, but he says to me, I gave you time. Now I need time to think. Now, when you sell publishing, he doesn't own all the music. He ends up owning only 1/4 of it. So if he buys the publishing for $100,000, that means all the music is worth $400,000 in his mind. So he says, you have to give me 24 hours and I'll call you up with either a counter or whatever. So he calls me up. I'm selling on the streets. He calls me up and he says, Mark, I've had my lawyer do some due diligence and your show is poised to close. So I never forgot this. It would be risky, or he used a better word, for me to even give you the initial $25,000. I said, Freddie, He says, but don't talk. But because I like you so much, I don't want to own anything of it. And I'm going to send you $15,000 just because I like you and the time I spent with you. I said, Freddie, I want to take that $15,000 so bad, but I can't because you're a good guy. So I want to tell you what I did. Scott Freisand, who you guys know now, was a partner of mine, and his father-in-law was Ronald Luxembourg, has taken me to a hedge fund guy who is, Scott went to college with him. And that hedge fund guy I went to him and I told him about Freddie Demand and that I wanted this money and all of that. Would you buy it? And he said, I'll double his money because I'm not into Broadway. He wanted 25 grand, then he wanted nothing because you're poised to close. I'll give you $50,000 for it. So I got $50,000, and I mean fast. So I say to Freddie, I can't take your 15. I got to be honest with you. I tell him what I just did with the hedge fund. He said, that's amazing, Mark. You still should have taken the 15. Why would you not take the 15? I said, because rather than take the 15, I want this promise from you. Whenever I call you, you take my call. If I'm calling you about an artist I find, because I'm going to get into the artist finding business. I'm going to get into the business of making stars and creating stars. And if I call you, you take my call. Give me every phone number you have. He said, Mark, you're brilliant. He gives me every number, his place in Malibu, his place in Bel Air, his place in New York, his cell, Candy's phone number, Pilar's phone number. He gives me everything because he can't believe what he just heard. I don't call him till I discover Jody Katz. He answers the phone. I remind him. He says, you don't have to remind me. Bring her in. He was in his place in New York. I bring Jody Katz in. He puts her in a movie. Puts her right in a movie, right? Then other things like that happen. And then I discover this other young girl. I don't want to mention her name. I got her a deal at Republic Records, and I got her a deal at Disney. And Disney was going to do a TV show with her and all of that. And I called him up, and I said, Freddie, what do you want to do with this? He said, let's be partners. Because if this falls apart, I can get anybody a record deal because of who he is. He said, so let's be management partners. And we stayed management partners for quite a while. And then he wanted to sort of leave the business. He literally left Bel Air and moved like close to Greenwich, Connecticut, in the town right next to Greenwich, Connecticut. To this day. So when I discovered Jasmine Hunter, the pop dance star that got the TV shows, I called Freddie Demand. And immediately he said, Mark, I can get her a deal right now at Republic Records. I can get her a deal here. You know, let's renew this. Let's renew our partnership. I couldn't at that time because Bradley Bredewig, who was an A-list director for television, The Fosters and Good Trouble, became my partner managing Jasmine Hunter. And therefore, that's powerful because he can get her into television and movies and not just records. And the record business is not a great business anymore. But to get into the record business, you need a lot of money, pay to play. You know, it's called joint ventures today. So it's above board. But, you know, you need millions of dollars. With Freddie Demand, you don't need millions of dollars. That's the power he has. He can get that deal. So do I still speak to him? I speak to him all the time. I text him all the time. You never give up on anyone. And that's how he became my partner.
Amazing. Amazing. We're going to close up this show. But before we do, a couple shout outs. And I also want you to tell me who you're getting in the game right now, who's currently on your slate, who you're making stars out of now. Before you do, Terry Schnook just joined us. We both
Terry.
Yeah.
Nice to hear that Terry's there.
Yeah. Ron Cephas Jones, brilliant actor. And again, going back to the roots of New Yorican Poets Cafe, Ron Cephas Jones is here. John Harris out there on the West Coast. Good to see you, John. Joseph Bell is with us. And Zulima has a question. So, but how did you start out, Mark? Did you have a foot in the door?
Yes, I didn't have contacts. You
put your foot through the door.
Yes, that's what I did. I started out as a songwriter at 18. I became very successful at 18. I was a senior in high school, quit high school because I was that successful, writing in the Brill building with my boss at that time was Irwin Levine. He went on writing Tie a Yellow Ribbon, Not Three Times, Candida for Tony Orlando and Donna. And because of those connections, I eventually met Ron Alexenberg, and then started to work with him. And then eventually I just went into, I wrote this 7-minute song called Brooklyn, and I made a movie out of it. I got a movie deal, with the biggest people in the movie business. And then it became a Broadway show, mostly because of Scott Priceand.
Speaking of big names, you were partnered with Hugh Jackman at one point too.
Yes. So with Hugh Jackman, I wrote this, it appears to be in an animated musical when you hear me pitch it, but it could be Broadway and it could be live action musical. And through a connection of Scott Priceand, a woman named Jan Eliasberg, who directed and wrote for Miami Vice, I pitched her. She introduced me by phone to Hugh Jackman's agents, theatrical agents in England. I won them over on the phone. They called up Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman called me and said he wants to see me, but first wants me to pitch his partner named John Palermo. They had a company together called Seed Entertainment, SEED. I pitched him. John Palermo went crazy over it. And then Hugh Jackman saw me, and Hugh Jackman became my partner.
Gotcha. All right. So you let's close it up with who you're putting on the map now. You mentioned Jasmine Hunter.
Jasmine Hunter it's in for her. So when this COVID ends, we go back to Bradley Bredewig, we go back to Coy Middlebrook. They introduced me to a girl named Kelly Parker, who runs J-Lo's company. She was bringing Jasmine to Kenny Ortega, who did High School Musical at Disney and all of that stuff, and now is doing that for Netflix. So all of that is in play. Record deals are in play. It's just the quarantine, the COVID that's stopping that. But I've done other consultations on Zoom, and I've discovered other people that way. So of course, I still work with Evans, the supermodel from Mississippi. So that happens when she turns 18. She gets into Guess or Nike. Go ahead.
You introduced me to, by the way, I want to point out to everybody, Mark, this is like a free hour of consultation.
Yes.
Not customized for every single viewer, but this is part of what Mark does in the downtime, is consult and make stars out of people. And actually one of your latest that you've introduced me to, the comedian, young comedian.
Nina Dicker, 22 years old, did a consultation with me, and she is fantastic comedy writer in the line of like Amy Schumer, these girls that sort of write dirty, talk dirty, and all of that. But she's brilliant. You would swear that she went to Harvard, for writing, and just brilliant writer, very funny. And so she is coming into Hollywood with a book that I told her to write, and I'm sort of like designing it with her. A 1-minute series. She's coming in with 6 episodes based on the book. She's coming in with songs based on the book. And here's the funny thing. I actually sent just one little story where she sort of did stand-up, but she's not a stand-up. She's a writer. But I had to do it in the form of stand-up so Richard Arliff could see it. I sent it to him, and he said, I don't know, I don't see at this moment that she has star quality to be a comedian that's doing stand-up. But does she have a career in Hollywood as a comedy writer, like on TV shows? And he said, yes, I see that. If she's willing to come here and do all the things you need to do to get there and sacrifice, he recognized that there's that talent. Well, wait till he sees what she comes in with, because I swear to God, it's just as great as what you're on the precipice for, that we can't speak about. It's that great. And right. I recognized it in her so fast on a consultation.
All right. So there is a question that has come up, so I got to honor the question here. There's a lot of thank yous, and thanks for shouting your kudos out to Mark. I'll relay your thank yous now. Zulina says, this has been fabulous. I'm writing all about it tomorrow on my Instagram, and I love you both. Tammy T says, I'm happy you're back, Galinsky. I'm glad. I'll be glad when they come up with a vaccine for COVID, because I'm going to meet Mark.
Can't wait.
Yeah, Zulima says, amazing and timely for all entertainers to know. And Turko Ono has a question. What do you see for the next year with COVID being here and the business?
That's the big question. No one knows what it's going to be like if COVID ends. What's it going to be like? Are we going to go back to hugging and handshakes and fist bumping? Is productions going to be the same way? Are we going to see movies where, like a Seinfeld show, where everyone is in one booth? Or is it going to be like it's changed our behavior? Well, if it's changed our behavior, then I believe production of movies and TV shows will change too. So it's really a great question that I don't think anyone truly has the answer. But Galinsky, you're close.
I hear you.
I can't say what it is, you know.
We do have a secret sauce brewing somewhere.
Yes.
You got it.
And let me say, Galinsky, out of all the people I discovered Scott Streisand, who's a Hollywood producer and a Broadway producer. I discovered Jodi Katz, who everyone who knows her knows how great she is, okay?
Yeah.
And I discovered Robert Galinsky.
Yeah, baby. I'll live with that. I like that, no doubt. You've been a strong influence and a great mentor of mine. And I hope to say consigliere as well. So Mark Schoenfeld, thank you so much for being with us. We're going to do this again. This was a brilliant 45, 55 minutes, almost an hour. And I thanks for you for taking the time. And I wish you well. And as what's Walter Cronkite say? It only happens here on 10 p.m. with Galinsky. All right. Love you, Mark.
Love you, my man. And thank you, everyone who was listening and watching.
Thank you, man. Be safe.
All right. Bye-bye, my man.